Call the meeting to order. So Jim's not going to be with us tonight. Kerry may or may not be showing up, depending on how the meeting goes. So we'll start with the work session items. We have some documents for review. Susan?
Yes. Hold on a second. Documents.
These are all
Yeah.
no issues, right? We just need to sign them.
Just need to sign, yep.
It's been a couple of years since I've seen you, right?
It has, yeah, I was
What
with
was the last
Masta.
project?
It was I-94, 95.
Okay, that's
Interchange,
right.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, that was
big
probably,
one.
that was probably 2 years ago. at least.
Yeah.
Okay, draft minutes for April 26th and May 10th. Did everyone get a chance to look at those? Any comments or questions? No comments?
No comments.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of April 26th and May 10th, please?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, McKinnon, 55 Elm Street. This is a request for a certificate of compliance. Come on up, Mr. McKinnon, how are you?
Just for the record, John Federico with Gurrier and Helmont.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, Dale could not make it tonight.
Okay, all right, yeah.
But I do have a copy of the plan, which I do believe was submitted to the board. Sorry, I don't have a presentation board with me, but same copy we do have up here.
Yeah.
From my understanding for everything, work has been completed within substantial compliance for the site. There's been some discussions between Dale and I believe it was the chairman of the board regarding the removal of some erosion controls. I do have a couple of photos tonight just showing mulch shock that we originally had and that area being removed, as well as some of the silt fence along the back of the property. A couple of photos just showing that all being removed.
Perfect. So you did that over the weekend?
Yes, that was taken care of over the weekend. Everything was removed off-site. Sorry, I did not bring a couple extra copies there for
No,
everyone.
that's fine. Okay, good. Okay, I think, Susan, that was really kind of the only outstanding,
Right. And we actually drafted the certificate of compliance just in case. It's timely for you.
yep, were there any questions or comments from the commission members? So I think there were some PIBs that were asked to be put in, those were taken care of.
Yes, we did have iron rods with red caps on them that do note wetland boundary. I do know that it is limited disturbance, and I think it might be the 25-foot buffer, but just for a little extra protection, I think we did call it out as such so that they maintain a little more. And then those were installed along the existing tree line and limited work that they had for the site.
Okay, and they were added to the as-built as well?
Yes, those are reflected
Did
on
those
there.
include medallions, or were they just rods with red caps?
Red caps, and there was text on the cap itself.
The second to last picture shows one.
Do you give it a thumbs up, Ed? Does it look like a PIB?
Certainly adequate to trip over.
I asked because we've had a number of issues where people have come before us and they've ignored or not understood the PIB medallions. And so I think we're trying to up our expectations to make sure it's really clear what they are.
I'm not sure if the town uses anything specific for a medallion or anything like that, but I do know that this is something typical that our survey team would be putting in for delineation type of markers and such.
Okay, I'm fine with that. If I get a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Should I just ask, like, where's the writing? Because that top looks small. Like lighting fits on there?
And I personally did not see what the caps are, but at least from everything that I've been told, it does have some sort of
I
demarcation
tried
on
to
there.
leave it open to the page with the cap.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Joe looked at it,
Oh,
Janine, and it's not like our typical medallion, but it did say wetland boundary on it, so.
okay.
Okay.
It's certainly commonly used for property
Alright.
boundaries that I've seen when I've been walking around open space.
All right, if I can get a motion to approve the COC for 55 Elm Street, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Do
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yep, well, can we just keep those for the project
sure.
file, please?
By all means. I'm
We have
not
an-
sure if Dale had forwarded over any electronic copies for those, but if you need those as well, we can definitely get them over to you folks.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Sure.
Send those. And we have the as-built and electronic version. Great.
Correct, yeah.
All right, great.
Thanks.
I'll definitely make sure that he does get those photos over to you all.
Okay, thank you.
And then, just because I know that Mrs. McKinnon's looking to, I believe, exchange some paperwork for the sale of the house a little bit later this week. In terms of any physical documents, is that anything that we'll be able to pick up from the town? Is that something that will be ready after the meeting or anything that I would need to hang out for at all?
It'll be ready on Thursday.
Ready on Thursday?
Formally issue it.
Okay, all right.
We signed it tonight, it'll be issued. So can you swing by the office on Thursday, Anna? Or-
Yeah, I'll email an electronic copy as soon as it's ready and then give them the option to either pick it up or mail.
All right, great. Thank you so
Okay.
much. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then, do you guys need a hard copy at all for your files?
Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay.
If you don't need it.
No. Less things for me to carry on that. All right, thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
Sure.
Night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Okay. Let's see. Zing, 38 Downey Street, this is a COC request, continuation.
Joyce Hastings from GLM Engineering.
I'm Ms. Hastings, how are you?
Excellent, thank you. The homeowner's here now. So the homeowner had come in at the last meeting to discuss the certificate of compliance for this project, and
Good evening.
he wasn't clear on the implications of what he was agreeing to do in order to some of the things, comments that you had brought up. So we wanted to come back in and talk about it a little bit. This
Okay.
property, the order of conditions was from a few years ago, and there's an area of the property that goes from the back of the house down to the lake that you asked if it could be, if they could plant some plantings in that area. It's all open area, and it hasn't changed from what it was when we originally permitted it. It was grass down to the edge of the wetlands, and nothing has changed. There were no trees that were taken down along that area. And you had asked if he could plant some shrubs down there or to partially revegetate that area. And the minor issue is that the property is under agreement or has been sold, and so the discussions back and forth between attorneys, it became evident that this was going to be an issue. And when we originally applied for this, the agent who had reviewed it obviously has since left, and the person who made some suggestions for this review wasn't familiar with what the original conditions were. So we wanted to ask if you could perhaps reconsider the additional plantings, because those weren't something that were called out for in the original permit. There was no...
Do we have the order of conditions, Susan? Do you have that
We
with
have
you?
the original approved plan, and it does show some trees, and I know that a few were...
But they were lawn. It was lawn down to the edge, so...
Yeah, and I have photos from Joe when he went out to...
So there were some trees, so that any trees that were taken down, there were a couple that came down as the result of a storm. And I believe
Yes.
this is the homeowner here that can,
Sure, hi. You can see from your own file picture, taken before we bought the property, the lawn was always ended to the lake.
Right.
I think the question that came up at the last meeting was why, so there's a BVW line where that green, so on the plan there, it shows a BVW
Yep.
in the dark green, or
Yep.
whatever you want to call that, the brighter green.
Right.
And so the discussion at the last meeting was whether that should be lawn if it was identified as BVW
So-
in the original.
I just did it by,
Order.
I did by soils at the time, and the lawn went all the way down, but I just captured the soils throughout the area. They had maintained that area. And again, it was never requested that they stop all activity within that area, just that we properly identify where the edge of, the edge of the wetland was.
Sue, can you just bring up the order of conditions, please?
Yeah, yeah.
We were looking at it, Jeff, like just kind of with consistency with some of the other projects where we were asking for like the 10-foot
Right.
filter strip, being that there was BVW identified on the plan.
And if that had been required here,
Yeah.
we would have, had a planting plan and we would have been all over that.
Yeah.
But that
So we would
wasn't
want
the
to
case
scroll
here.
down, I think.
Okay.
So erosion, so keep,
Brad,
yeah, keep
can you
going.
read that for me?
Yeah.
I can make it
So
bigger.
after construction,
I'm having
other
trouble, but I'm
conditions.
sure he can pick that up.
Yes, you can stop there, please.
Yeah.
Alright, location of use of sodium, pesticides, herbicides, not. Should not be used to establish maintenance, landscape plantings, use of fertilizer.
So there were continuing conditions, just not,
Yeah. I think the thing with this one was, Melissa, this was 2010.
Quite a while ago.
so if this came before you today, you might treat it differently.
Yeah,
You'd
yeah.
you'd have the PIBs and
'Cause the-
and things like that.
Because
this
that
one did not.
barrier that we've been
Mhm.
requesting has been a fairly recent thing, the past few years.
Yeah, no, I think the confusion at the last meeting was literally the BVW line on the plan, and why
Yeah.
why wouldn't that be, why would that be allowed to be lawn?
I think too, they
But-
don't show any of the existing trees on the asphalt. So it looks like all those trees have been
Right.
removed.
Yeah.
But there are still trees there.
But there are trees.
There are trees
'cause
there.
according to Joe's photos, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot, I mean, it shows some of the stumps we saw.
Right.
Yeah.
And those stumps, again, were storm damage
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't have a problem with that.
or storm fall.
Okay, I mean, I think requesting this up.
Yeah,
at
no, we
this
can't
point.
after the point.
No, that all makes sense. This was 2010, unfortunately. It's 12 years later that we're looking for the COC on this, so.
They weren't aware until they were selling it that they needed to go through
Yeah,
this.
that's pretty common. Yeah, so that barrier that we've been requesting the past few years, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we weren't requiring that, which in hindsight, was an oversight.
Part of the reason we've had some of the other meetings we've had.
Yeah. So I think unfortunately on this one, we're going to have to issue the COC.
Not unfortunate for you.
Well, I think we want to be good for everyone, for town. We did not change anything.
Yeah.
No, we understand. Okay. Did you guys have any questions or comments?
No, I just remember the wise words of someone I knew who would always say, "We used to think, but now we know."
Right. Okay. So if I can get a motion to approve the COC for 38 Downey Street, please.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you too. Where you guys moving to?
We're moving to Milford
Milford.
next door.
Oh, okay, all right. You're gonna miss the lake, I would think.
Absolutely. I have a 96-year-old. The 38 is very small. That's why we leave to my
Yeah,
mother-in-law
unfortunately.
together to take
My
care of
mom.
her.
Yeah, that was
Almost
nice of you.
97, going
Exactly.
strong.
But I'm sure you have some good tenant, and they will come to apply more projects. More work for you, I'm sorry. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay, what time we got? All right, we'll squeak in Wall Street Development, 10 Leonard Street. This is a request for a minor plan change.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Essentially, now that we've started progressing on this project. We can see the site a little bit better, and thank you. So what we're, from the original plan, oh, well, this is much nicer, I colored that one, this one tonight. So what you see in green is where the original plan, house location was, and the black shaded was the original driveway. What we tried to do is create a little bit more space for the rear yard, the abutter, and maintain a certain distance consistent with Lot 1, and just shift the house a little bit and create a side loading garage instead of a front loading garage. So essentially we're trading this driveway area for this purple area.
So the footprint of the house stays the same, it looks
Yeah, it's
like.
slightly bigger, and we've compensated that with additional stormwater recharge in the back. These are bigger, there's 3 of them.
And then it looks like the driveway impervious surface increased.
Correct, correct. This blue area would be now the side loading garage, which would be further away from, if you go to the site, you'll see if you put a driveway in the front of the house where it was approved, it's really not very attractive.
Who's the abutter behind it? Is it
This is Conley's back.
Mrs. Conley?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've asked us, we've been working with them on keeping stuff away from their property and drainage and so on and so forth. I don't know if
What's going on with the stone wall there?
this wall here in the back,
Yeah.
well, we're still under construction. We just had the gas line put in. That's our last excavation in that area.
Yep.
And once this foundation's put in, then we can grade this whole area out and create the swale. And right now we've got a whole excess number of boulders and stone that we're going to use along that back wall. They'd like to see it a little higher, and we're going to try and accommodate that for them.
Okay.
The swales and the areas are all grassed now. We're maintaining them, cutting them. And so that's really kind of, originally we have some ideas on possibly doing something with Lot 3A with a different shaped house, moving it away from the detention area. But we'll come back when we remove the excess material that's on the site. We'll be able to see it a little better.
Okay. So I get all that. Thank you for the overview. I guess, this wouldn't qualify as a minor project change.
Okay.
Because the increased impervious surface, I didn't realize the house footprint was going to be a little bit bigger, but, the house footprint is also moving closer to
Well,
the
closer,
resource.
yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we didn't consider this being outside the 100-foot buffer zone as being that instrumental in terms of the impervious surface, so.
Yeah,
All right, what-
so under the bylaw, I just printed this out. Minor projects, not requiring filings or amended filings, have to be outside of any resource area, more than 50 feet from a resource area, but completely outside the vernal pool habitat, or within pre-existing lawn areas where the work lies within or outside the buffer zone and will not extend beyond the pre-existing lawn edge.
I thought the commission granted a waiver for us being inside the whole site is inside the 50-foot,
Right.
100-foot, so, there really isn't any buffer zone that we're dealing with here, so I think,
Well, it's in the buffer zone.
no, I know, but in terms of the site itself, it's not vegetated, it's a completely disturbed buffer zone, so.
It is now.
That was the waiver, though. We asked for the waiver and the commission granted it, so I sort of think that should carry over. We're just trying to move,
No, I know, but we need to do this properly from a process standpoint. I think, my view is, it's not a new notice of intent filing, but it would be an amended NOI. But let me open it up to Melissa and the other commission members.
I think that would allow us to update the numbers right in the filing of how much.
Because the drainage calcs are going to need to be
we did
redone.
submit additional drainage calcs on sheet 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So we did, he's got additional drainage calculations on the site
Okay,
right now.
so those were provided.
So, again, the way we looked at it was the trade-off between the black and the
No,
purple.
I know, I get it. I think everyone understands that. I just think that this doesn't pass muster for just a minor project change.
I agree with that.
Janine, Ed?
I agree.
Yeah.
I was nodding.
So does that require a public hearing? Or,
Yes. Yeah.
okay. I don't think it falls under those, given the history and the waivers that were granted, I don't think that those are part of your regulations is applicable because of the waivers that were granted. You have already granted me a waiver to be in that area. So any change that we would make that is still in that area would be
But
a simple
again,
plan change, basically.
but again, it's, if you were simply shifting the dwelling and the driveway in their current configuration, a few feet, then
So what would make it, what would make this a minor modification that wouldn't require a hearing because it's, at the rate we're going, we won't have a decision on this for,
Do you know what
Till winter
what
time.
the increase in impervious area is?
I mean,
I think if there
I-
was not a increase in impervious area, maybe we can
well, are you talking within the 100 foot or outside the 100?
in our jurisdiction.
yeah, in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, so I'd have to get that, but it's basically this little blue area right in here, and this area right in here. But we're trading that for the black. So it's minimal. All I can tell you, it's very minimal when you calculate it, so.
Have you calculated it?
I haven't, but I will calculate it. I didn't expect it to be,
Yeah, why don't you do that? Why don't you make those calculations so we can know exactly what we're
Okay.
dealing with, and then, we can reconsider it. If
okay.
you want to come to
I
the
can-
next
I can-
meeting.
When's your next meeting?
It's the 26th.
Of July?
26th. Yep.
a couple weeks.
All right, let me do that, because it really is not a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can just do that, and then if it's, you know, and when you're recalculating it, so is this blue here is inside the buffer zone, right?
No, that's outside the
This
buffer
is
zone.
outside.
Yeah, the 100-foot buffer zone is the orange, or
There's a triangle of blue.
that triangle.
That would
is
be
the
new
triangle.
impervious.
Just a triangle in blue, below that, right there, that's,
Okay.
Plus some of the house.
Sure.
Plus a lot of the house.
Yeah, I mean,
right, yeah,
So
well, that's
this-
a trade, yeah.
So this black is going away, it's gonna be the blue.
Right. The
But
black,
but it's still gonna come up like this, though, right?
yeah, I'm sorry, I just got away
So
with my
this is all
crayon.
blue.
Right,
I think the loss would be this.
yeah, that
The
black,
gain would be this and all of the purple.
right, well,
Although not this little bit of
the
purple.
loss is this, all of this black. down-
No, but that's also blue now. So we don't lose that, and that's house now. The only bit of impervious
Right, okay,
loss
you're right.
is
you're-
this.
You're right,
What is gained is this, all of this purple until
Right.
there.
right.
Right. Yeah, so if you can just do those calculations for
Okay.
us. And,
Yeah, I'll put that together, and I'll come back at your next meeting.
yeah, yeah,
We'd like to be able to,
okay. Yeah, let's do that, and then if you can just submit them to Anna and Sue,
Okay.
you know, a few days before, so
Yeah,
we
prior
can.
to the
yeah,
meeting.
I'll get
Yeah,
those
prior
to
to
you.
the, prior to the meeting, just so we can
Okay,
review it, that would be perfect.
okay, great, thanks a
Okay,
lot,
great,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, Mr. Petruzzi.
Thank you for taking me earlier.
Sure. No problem.
Do you want this back?
No, you guys can keep that.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time coloring this.
Mr. Petrosi, that might also give you a heads up, since it said you were considering changes to Lot 3A.
Yeah,
You might have those numbers for the first meeting, so we can avoid
I might have what?
delay. Those same numbers, if there is a change in impervious surface,
Right,
if you make
okay.
amendments.
Yeah, no, I
If you
won't.
bring those into this meeting, it'll be easier to.
The problem that I'm having is, you know, we have, as you know, the market's, a lot of people are looking for houses and they all want something different, and so we're not planning on starting construction. First of all, the site is big, huge stockpile there right now, so we're months away from starting a house there, so.
Yeah,
But
I
it-
mean, we, you know, from a commission and town perspective, we want to see this project completed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
as much as you do.
Yeah, well, we get some good weather and
Yeah.
things happen. All right, I'll be back at the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, bye-bye, thank you.
Okay, Chen, 18 Grove Street, this is a continuation of request for determination of applicability. Tongue-tied there. Good evening, folks.
Hello, good
Hi.
evening.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Maggie Shen.
Wei Chen,
Wayne and Maggie, nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
So yeah, we live at 18 Grove Street, which is the house right next to the CVS parking lot. So what we like to discuss tonight is to pitch our proposal for our backyard project.
Okay.
Currently, our backyard is bordered by a wetland zone, and so we can't touch it. We did a wetland border report that we had got from a consultant, and I think about 85% of the vegetation in that wetland zone is invasive Japanese knotweed, which is very, very
It's favorite.
You know, I just shared an article, what you can do with Japanese knotweed. You can make paper with it.
Okay, so there's some use for it.
We were wondering, like, what should we do with it?
Yeah.
And I am affiliated with the Open Space Preservation Commission, and we have some knotweed there, and we just got an estimate today for an area that's about 50 feet by maybe 40 feet, about $800 to $900.
It's not bad at all. Ours is a lot smaller than that.
Yeah.
It's not even close to that size, so.
So you can see in the sketch plan that our current tree line is that green squiggly line. And in the year and a half that we lived in this house, like the knotweed has just started invading our lawn.
Yeah.
So what we're proposing is to kind of create a boundary between the knotweed and our lawn. And what we like to do is to start at the maple tree. And to do this, we would like to relocate some of our existing red spruce trees.
Yes.
We have about 7 of those that are on the side bordering the
On the north side.
north side, yeah,
Yep.
bordering the parking lot. So it's not shown on here. We want to relocate those to create a new tree line. And then we also have 3 arborvitaes from the front yard that we also like to move there. So our plan is to hire a professional to remove the knotweed that is kind of on
In
the
the
right
lawn
side,
area?
in the
Yep.
lawn area.
Yep.
And whatever professionals recommend, we'll kind of go with that. And then to replace what is removed and to kind of preserve the wetland, the kind of like ecosystem, we are also going to move some existing hydrangea shrubs. These grow very big. We have those already growing in our front lawn. So we're going to move some of those up there, and then kind of depending on how much space you have left, we're going to plant some more like native
Species, yeah.
yeah, good pollinators like lilies, rose bushes, and whatever.
Yeah,
flowers.
stuff for the bees
Kind of like
and the
fill up
butterflies. Yeah.
the space.
So the red spruce, are those there now, or those are gonna be relocated there?
Those are relocated. So
Yeah.
those are right now going along the north side of the property. So along the horizontally going across the top. So we want to move those to the back. Eventually, what we want to do with north
So I'm
side.
just trying to orient myself. North is...
North is up.
The top.
Up,
North is up,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, where the spruce trees are going across the top, we eventually want to put a fence there to kind of
Block
separate
them.
us from the CVS parking lot. Because
So those, yeah,
so we want to move those to the back, basically.
so those are not within the buffer zone right now?
No.
They're like near the house, along the lot line?
Yeah, they go all the way across to the front eventually.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
yeah.
yep.
They're just out what is bordering the parking lot from our house right now. But they
Got
grow
it.
really tall, so we don't want those there. So we want to move those to create a new tree line in the back. And then we also plan to put some like natural mulch just kind of around the trees to kind of make sure the knotweed doesn't continue spreading in.
Yeah, and then that area, once all the plantings are done, will be allowed to just grow wild, right? It's not going to be maintained?
In the back of in the left side of the tree line, yeah, we are not touching anything past
Well,
that.
see where the 50-foot offset to the wetlands is? That
Yes.
line?
Oh,
That's
yes.
the PIB right now, correct, Susan?
Yes. There isn't any, yeah.
Oh, there's no PIB there now?
No.
I don't think that is our part of our property, right? Or-
I mean, technically we own it, but I think it's under their jurisdiction, so we don't touch it regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is that area beyond the 50-foot offset to the wetlands lawn right now, or what is that? I see the squiggly green line there. What is that? Is that the lawn?
That's
the
the current
current
tree line
tree
right
line.
now.
Oh,
Current
that's
tree
the
line.
current tree
Yeah.
line.
So some of that's already past the 50-foot barrier or offset for some reason. Not sure why.
We have boulder.
According to Joe, it's knotweed and shrub. It's not really trees per se.
Yeah.
Brush line.
Bush line, exactly.
Yeah.
Bush.
So you're not taking down any trees?
No, we're not touching any of those
You're
trees.
just
There's 2 trees right in place right now. There's a maple tree. I think there's an apple tree.
Oh, yeah.
We're not
Okay,
touching
I
any
see.
of those. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question, how are you going to eradicate the knotweed? It's important to not just mow it.
Oh, yeah,
it'll
we're not
just
touching it.
spread everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're gonna consult with like a landscaper and see
Yeah.
what they
I can give you a card,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
and then if you
Yeah.
contact me, I can give you the name of the party that we spoke with.
Sure.
Okay.
This is what they do.
Yep.
I can't
Vouch.
I guess, I can't vouch for them. It would be up to you
Sure.
to do that. But, the guy was extraordinarily knowledgeable.
Okay. That's a great option then. Because we were also talking to our neighbor. He said he had somebody we can look into as well, but it sounds like we have options
So,
there.
so what he talked about doing was, I gotta figure out which card I'm gonna give you. I might as well give you the fun one.
Oh, you got one?
Make sure you give them the right one.
I don't know what that means.
This is the party one. Thank you.
Everything on there is true.
The plastic pig?
Yes.
What? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So what they would do in our case we have two choices. One is to cut the knotweed like this high off the ground, and then they inject it with
That's
an
what Kim was
herbicide.
saying as well.
Yeah, and
Yep.
the other choice that he talked about is that they essentially have a sponge on a stick, and they wipe it on the leaves, so they don't spray. There's no
Right.
spray involved. And he said the wiping on the leaves is more effective.
Okay.
It gets into the roots better. So
Okay.
we're still trying to figure that out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we're not going to do it ourselves. We'll leave it up to the professionals, whatever they recommend. Because obviously they've done it before.
Yeah.
And we're not experts in this area, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, so this all sounds good to me. I think what we would want to do is that, see where the 50-foot offset to the wetlands is? Once the landscaping replantings is done and the kind of the Japanese knotweed has been taken out, if we could allow that area beyond the 50-foot to just revegetate and kind of grow wild and establish that as a permanent movable barrier. So basically, that would be a resource area, you know, you just let it go wild, you can just let it grow, but, you know, it wouldn't be, you wouldn't cut it, it wouldn't be lawn area, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So past the spruce, right? Is that what you're saying? Or within,
Can you just show
Well,
them where
this-
that 50-foot
The
offset line
50-foot
is?
is right here.
anything past the 50 foot?
And that,
Okay.
but this is where they want to plant the spruce and then the arborvitae, or the hydrangea.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
So you're saying beyond this, just on the backside?
Well, this corner, like,
Oh, this
see,
part.
yeah, see
Oh,
that
okay.
area that's grass right now?
Yes.
Could you allow that to just grow out like meadow?
Sure. So the only thing is, there's some knotweed over there as well. If we just leave it
If
alone,
there's a little bit of knotweed, it's
Yep.
gotta go or it'll come back.
that's what I'm saying. So what should we do about that?
Yeah, you can have your landscaper take care of that.
Yeah.
The knotweed there.
Yep.
And then just, once that's done.
Yep.
Just beyond that line, that 50-foot, you just let that grow, so it's like a
Okay.
meadow, almost, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Are you amenable to that?
I think that's
Yeah,
fine,
that's
right?
fine.
Yeah.
You
As long as
may-
the knotweed doesn't come back.
It
into that
might
area.
come back, you might have to have it treated.
Second time.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Through the chair, I'm a little confused about your recommendation, so let me make sure I understand. In the red area, not only is the knotweed going to be removed, but the shrubs that are also living in that area. I assume those are native shrubs, or are those invasive?
There's no shrubs, right?
Yeah, right now
So
it's all
right now,
flowers.
Isn't that what the line is? That's the shrub and knotweed line?
so yeah, right now it's mostly knotweed right now. We want to move native species into that area, replacing the knotweed.
Okay, but there are also shrubs in that area, according to Joe.
I believe there's.
Joe, there's a few,
Yeah, I believe
he
there's-
didn't really specify,
Yeah.
but
I think according to the report, do you have that? It's
This one,
mostly
right?
knotweed, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
no,
one?
no, the other one.
Oh, the what?
Yeah.
This one?
This one.
It's like,
Keep going. The percentages, right?
it's like 80-something percent.
80-something percent, 86%?
86%,
Yeah,
yeah.
knotweed, so it's majority is knotweed.
So your
right?
plan is to leave whatever are the shrubs in there alone?
Well, he said the shrub area is dominated primarily by invasive Japanese knotweed and includes other vegetation such as Virginia creeper, jewelweed, pokeweed, oriental bittersweet.
So
and
all
grape.
of it's invasive?
Well, pokeweed isn't, jewelweed is not, and grape is not. So, and Virginia creeper is not. So
But a lot of that's probably when they're removing the knotweed, will probably get disturbed, right?
will get disturbed, and honestly, those aren't shrubs, those are all herbaceous, so.
Okay.
Well, except the grape, which is a vine.
Okay.
But,
So what confuses me, Jeff, about your proposal is it sounds like within the red, they're proposing a fairly manicured solution with a nice line of spruce, was it? Along the back, and pretty hydrangeas planted. And that would fall within the 50-foot buffer zone. But I think, Jeff, then you're saying the stuff outside of the red box, within the 50-foot buffer zone, you're asking to return to a meadow, natural growth.
Yeah, so that 50-foot offset that
So-
Sue is highlighting right in there,
So we're
would we establish
allowing,
as a PIB.
we're allowing a kind of manicured in part of the 50-foot arc, but you're asking to return to meadow in another part of the 50-foot arc.
No, the part north of that isn't going to be manicured.
It sounds like it is. It's going to be planted with pretty hydrangeas and spruce along the line in the back. If I'm understanding, that's why I'm confused.
And then they're gonna let it go wild.
Is that what you're proposing, to move hydrangeas there and then never touch it, and whatever weeds grow? Outside of
plant
knotweed?
flowers and like just native plants, like pollinators, like.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're seeing
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah,
So the idea was to put also mulch in there as well, and that way it would limit the number of other things that, would invade as well, right? So it would kind of just keep it to what we plant there and just that.
Which I think is not what you're proposing, Jeff.
I think you're gonna have to manage it.
Right, because
I just wanna make sure we're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah, no, I know.
it would just come back.
I think like you said, it's gotta be
Yeah.
consistent along that whole, I don't think
Yeah.
saying go wild is, because if it goes wild, I think it's gonna go back to.
That's what Kim was saying too when we talked to her.
And,
So she says you have to put
appliances.
something there to keep it,
Right, so
from coming back.
what I'm saying is that the entire 50-foot line, so, actually, let me just, we don't have that laser pointer anymore, do we?
No, we don't.
I tried the pointer. You guys made
So-
fun of me when I
so
busted
this
out
would
the
be- so
pointer.
this would be the PIB. So beyond this, once this work is done, you put the mulch in, the pollinators, replant these, the spruce. But what I'm suggesting, so that would be lightly maintained, it just wouldn't be lawn area anymore. But the PIB would extend like through here. This would allow you would take care of the Japanese knotweed in here
Yeah,
too.
We could, yeah.
And then, you could put pollinators in this area as well if you want, but this wouldn't be maintained as like a manicured lawn. It would just be allowed to grow out, be a meadow.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, right.
Does that make sense?
So the lawn would be gone in that spot, is what he's saying.
I don't think we have much of a lawn on there anyway.
So in that case, why don't we just make the whole thing
Trees,
with the shrubs and the trees, right?
just kind of spread the trees
Yeah,
out a bit more.
why don't we
Yeah, because we have like 10
Can we
trees.
do that all the way down?
I think that makes more sense, because then you're.
Yeah, because then it's kind of like
and
just,
you're-
exactly.
Yeah, otherwise-
It's not like a half and half kind of thing.
Yeah, so we can put
Right, that
some
way it
of the
looks a little better
trees
as well.
on the other side of the maple tree, just kind of continue that line to
Yeah.
create that border boundary.
So, yeah, why don't you pull the red like all the way down in more of a square formation instead, right?
Yeah,
Like a rectangular, yeah.
Something like that, right?
yeah.
So
if you
it's kind of going along the line of that 50-foot offset.
Yeah, all the way down basically,
Just
right?
straight line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you have more consistency across
Yeah.
the entire area. Would that be okay?
Yeah. Does that sound all right, Ted?
Yeah, I have another
That
question.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
I have a separate question,
Yep.
and I am certainly no expert in this. I don't often hear of hydrangeas being the plantings we recommend. I know they're all over Cape Cod, and they may be native, I have no idea. All I know is what I saw on Wikipedia. They're also native in Asia, so I don't know if the ones we have are Asian ones or not. But the other thing I read on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is only so good, I'm aware, I'm a high school teacher, and I don't want my students on Wikipedia all that much. But Wikipedia says that the most common hydrangeas are not very good pollinators at all because they're sterile, and the bees ignore them.
If you plant them
don't
in
know.
threes, you have to plant them in threes, and that way otherwise they're not sterile.
I love pollinators, I love
Plant them
getting
in
rid of the
threes,
knotweed, I'm not
Yeah,
trying to be
you
a
plant them
problem.
in threes so that you
But,
make sure you have both sexes and they're not sterile.
Oh, okay.
If they are truly pollinators, that's a great option.
That was just,
It was on the list of that we got.
yeah, Kim gave us a list of natural,
Oh, did she?
native pollinators, and that was on the list, so we were like, okay, we like those, we use them for our wedding, right? So, like, we love those things, so like, why don't we put it back there, right?
We actually do currently
Yeah.
have 3 growing
Yeah.
already in the
Yeah.
front. So we have those, we have a bunch of rose bushes, those are pollinators.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
some-
yeah.
probably
We
good
see
So
that-
maybe if you plant them in threes, then you'll have good pollinator success.
So we'll keep it multiples of 3s, okay? That's easy enough, yeah.
They go really
We
big.
have to have at least 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, at least 3,
They
okay.
must be
3 is the minimum.
Mormon
I don't know if you can choose.
Yeah.
Those were my only questions, otherwise I'm fine with the plan, especially the clarification about what's going on inside the 50.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good with that. If we can just you know, if you can modify the plan to reflect what we just talked about, and then you can work with Susan and Anna on, you know, the plantings and the location. You don't have to come back to us before that.
Sure.
Come back to us again to,
Yeah.
you know, work all that out.
That sounds great.
Susan and Anna can do that with you.
Okay.
That sounds great.
That
So,
sounds good.
okay.
And you gotta stay on top of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta keep an eye on it.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of it.
Yeah, yeah. We don't like it either, you know, it's everywhere. So,
It is, and
Yeah.
it has been a real craw in me, because
Yeah.
it's everywhere, and I can't get too many
Yeah.
people to pay attention to the
and
issue.
I see it everywhere now. Like,
Yeah.
just driving down the street, I see it on the
I
side
did
of the
too. My
road.
time on this commission taught me what it was, and I see
Yeah.
it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know what it was before,
It's
but
almost
now
like
it's
it's
just
a
like,
bright pink thing now.
yeah,
because
it just
jumps
stands
at
out.
me.
Everywhere, yeah. So,
Okay, so if I get a motion to close and issue a negative determination of applicability for the work
I'd
discussed.
be happy to make that motion.
And the second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And thank you for
Great.
coming forward. A lot of people were
Yeah.
probably just done the work and then.
we want to do it the right way.
Okay.
All right, we'll be in touch.
I don't want to make any comments, but I think you might need a copy of this book in a little while.
Oh, yeah.
I highly
Is that for Kim?
recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, good luck.
Thank you.
so
Have a great night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks. Okay. Were there any public forum requests, Susan?
No, I think we just have the friendly enforcement order.
Yep, so Town of Hopkins School Department, the friendly enforcement order. That was issued, correct? Already?
No, we're waiting
No.
for you guys to
Oh, okay.
review it, and Kim had some proposals for you
Okay,
guys.
yeah, let's take a look at that then. Yeah, so let's, okay. So do you have the conditions that she had proposed? Sue?
Yes, they are, I was just gonna bring up the plan, but yes, they're right here.
So those are standard, those general conditions are pretty standard after restoration. But then, okay, so this was the question that we had talked about, Sue,
Yeah.
and I thought I'd written it down somewhere, but.
Does the commission, would they like to see an as-built plan for the COC, as well as, would they like to have monitoring occur for 2 growing seasons?
Yeah, so, let me open it up to you guys on what you think about this. I think we definitely want an as-built plan. That's standard kind of operating procedure. The other question that Sue and Kim had was, I guess they're looking to issue the COC sooner rather than later, but since this replication area is new, you know, typically we require 2 growing seasons to make sure that it establishes and that, you know, it's thriving before we issue the COC.
How many has it gone through right now, or was it just planting?
It hasn't been planted yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, no.
So what do you you think?
So I think the question is, right, Jeff?
They're not even in the
COC
ground.
for the turf field separate from a COC for the ERO. So do you
Right.
want to
Right.
hold off issuing the turf fields until this has grown for 2 years?
So there's a COC that will be for the replication area too, right?
Correct, they'll need to close out this ERO,
Yeah.
but then there's a separate COC for the turf field project.
Right, which they completed. And that's the part that they want to close out.
Correct.
Yeah. Right, yeah, okay, thank you for the
What happens if they don't close this one out? Like, if we approve a COC on the fields, are they ever going to do this? Because the story at the beginning of the turf fields was, whoops, there was this replication we were supposed to do. We never did it. We'd like to add it to our turf field project. And then they said, we actually can't afford to do that right now. We'll do it later. If we grant this COC,
Never happened.
does the
The
replication
latest
ever
update
happen?
was all the funds have now been allocated, and they are anxious to do this project very quickly.
They do know that this isn't a good time to plant, right?
I would hope so.
Wait, why are they anxious to close out the COC on the turf field? Is there a concern with keeping that open until this is done?
Maybe funding, maybe will the money go away or something?
That's the question, because there are budget constraints in town, and I can see, to Ted's point, those funds getting reallocated to something that may be deemed more
Marathon school.
important, you know? Like another
Another bike lane?
classroom or something like that is more important than a wetland replication area, you know what I mean?
I feel like I kind of feel like you, Ted, if we separate it, it's not going to happen.
I think I agree with that.
I mean, I'd be amenable to having a discussion about waiting for one growing season versus two. They haven't done anything.
Yeah, so I think the direction, Sue, that we need to give them is that we don't want to separate the two. Like, issue the COC and then, in good faith, you know, hope that the replication area is going to be done and that's going to be closed out.
So in other words, one COC after they plant. But are you saying to wait till it's monitored for a growing season or two?
For one growing season, I think that makes sense.
I don't know why they have to rush the COC, but sure, I'm happy to talk about one growing season, yeah.
We want 2 growing seasons on the replication for this.
No, I'm saying that would be my compromise.
Well, he's saying that they would issue the COC after, if it's doing well after.
On the turf project.
Keep it all one,
All as one.
Yeah, so we don't issue any COC now.
Okay,
The two of them are basically tied together.
okay. So,
They do the replication area, if after one growing season, not two, you know, it looks like it's taking and it's doing okay, then we can issue both COCs at that point.
okay. So then the language of this is going to be not for 2 growing seasons.
Right, so we can,
So evaluate it after 1 growing season.
yes, please. So in 13 there, Anna, it says within 2 growing seasons following the completion of the restoration, the responsible party shall submit a request in writing for a COC.
Yeah,
We
change
get-
that to just 1.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if it's not doing well,
We say,
you're not going to issue a COC, and you're going to have to wait for another growing season.
Yep. Does that sound good?
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Mr. Lagoy, good evening.
Hi. Waiting for the other Beaver people to show up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's more. There's more?
Yes.
leave it to Beaver.
Well, Chuck is getting reappointed to our committee, so as soon as he's done with that, I guess he's coming over. And I thought Maury was going to be here too, but...
Well, do you want to begin the conversation?
Sure, we can start it.
And if Maury, you know, and Chuck show up, and they can jump in,
Yeah.
that way they're not waiting.
Yeah, so the general background is Chuck's been doing a lot of work over at Pratt and Fruit Street. We've been looking at Berry Acres, and there's been just a lot of beaver activities, and they're starting, especially in the trails that Chuck's just built through some of those areas. The beavers are flooding them out, creating some problems. They're going to be killing some trees.
At Fruit Street?
Yeah, at Fruit Street.
Yeah.
And we started talking about it, and the issue is, you know, beavers are natural. We don't want to be, you know, they're creating wetlands, so that's a good thing. We don't want to be killing them, but we also want to find some balance with regard to our trails and with regard to other, you know, uses in town, you know, open space land.
Yeah.
Too. So obviously, it seems like you folks are the people to talk to about, you know, or to talk with about how we come up with that balance.
Yeah, kind of the way we've looked at it in the past, because we had a lot of, over at the Huckleberry Road development,
Yep.
which is near Fruit Street.
Yep.
They were having a lot of problems a few years ago with the beaver activity. They were, you know, that whole area was getting flooded, and the water was kind of migrating towards the private wells. So we had to deal with it then. And then the other area where we've had a big problem with them has been at Legacy Farms.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, you know, I think the approach that we've taken is, who have we worked with, Melissa? I know, because there's like a contractor that the town has.
Right. John works through John Gelsich.
Yeah. Was it Malcolm? Yeah. I don't think we ever, like, actually approved it. You know, they just came to us and raised the issue that the beaver activity was flooding like Waite Hole Brook. It was moving towards the private wells, you know. I think it was more of kind of an informational type thing, wasn't it, Anna?
Yeah, we never, we started a beaver management NOI, and it never got completed before planners changed.
Okay, because I know there is a beaver excluder in there. It's not working as effectively as it needs to be, but there is one in there, so one would think
over at Fruit Street?
Yeah, you get to it off of Pratt, actually, but yeah, it protects some of the Fruit Street land, sort of that border.
Yeah.
So there is one in there, so they would think they would have had to come to you for that, but sounds like apparently not.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, unless we were just okay with
Those guys.
that guy, you know, him
Yeah, maybe you talked to Don, and Don
implementing
said.
some procedures, yeah. as
Were
long
you
as they
guys
weren't-
on the commission when we went through this?
I remember going through it.
think-
I remember one, I don't know if it was, I think it was near Fruit Street or,
Vaguely.
where they were doing the hoop houses. I think maybe they found them there, oh no, probably not. I think it was Fruit Street. I remember it
Yeah,
3 years ago, maybe. I think.
yeah. I know, it's,
Because you can't just take a dam out.
Doesn't
right?
doesn't work.
right,
Yeah,
they just come
they build
back.
it back.
You have to catch them, and then they have to kill them, they can't re-release
Right, you can't
them.
relocate, so, yeah, you have to get a professional in to catch and kill, and even that, you know, they'll come, you know,
Yeah,
the next
they're
year's
rodents.
would be right back.
I'm curious,
yeah.
what happens if they get relocated? Like if you drive, I'm not saying we should,
Legally
what
can't
happens?
do, they'll find you know, either a different place, or they may
So
come
they'll
back.
ruin someone else's neighborhood?
There'll be
That's
someone
Right, I
else's
think- I think-
problem, which is why they don't like the whole relocation
Yeah.
thing.
I didn't know if they got depressed and died. I didn't know what happened if they relocated.
I know, I mean, a lot of animals, if you relocate them, they'll come back if they can.
Yeah,
So we had a
was
skunk
thinking
that
about
was
dumping
very
it with
distinctive
Quabbin
growing
Reservoir or
up.
something.
My father
It'd
put
be
it
hard
across
to
the
remember.
Farmington River, and it came back, so.
They have groups for beavers that have been relocated, you know, going through depression.
yeah.
The ability of animals to find their way home is incredible.
Yes.
I read an article, the book is called Super Navigators, and a crocodile in Australia was moved as the crow flies, maybe 775 miles, but as the crocodile had to go back,
Oh, my gosh.
yeah,
75 miles.
it was several hundred miles.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
showed up.
Well, I was, we have like a boatload of chipmunks.
Only a boatload?
And I like capture them in the cage and then like bring them out like a half mile behind my house and let them
Oh,
go.
there's no way a half mile's
So I was like, why,
That's a long way.
it doesn't seem to be doing the trick. So I spray painted the tail of one of them. And sure enough, 3 days later, he was back in the house.
And see, this is all being recorded, I see.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean,
how many
relocating it-
violations are we hearing here?
I was like relocating it in the general vicinity.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not like driving down the road. And
I'm sure the environmental enforcement police would cut you some slack as a result of your near-term relocation. Anyway, with the beavers, I mean, tolerance, kind of, you have options of, you just tolerate them. They hopefully won't stay around forever. Try to put some sort of excluders in selected areas, and I think that's what we're thinking of doing, like Fruit Street. Berry Acres is another one. There's an existing, the main trail through there is now flooded over. So the options there are, we may be able to just kind of put a boardwalk in, get up above where the beavers are blocking the water. That one's kind of, they put these dams in sometimes in areas that already have water. So it's already ponded, so they're just like taking credit for, look at the dam I put in, look at the water I backed up. It's like you didn't do anything other than flood that little trail.
Well, then they gnaw down all the trees in the area too.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, do we sort of like draw the line of like, all right, they're just a nuisance, like, they're allowed to live in the environment too, versus like, okay, now they're causing harm
Right.
to the environment or to property.
Right. It's sort of, the idea is to, it's kind of kick ideas around and come up with sort of like, what's our overall town policy? Is it tolerate unless it's a particular issue, and then we'll come in and talk about it. And, the solutions are either excluders or killing them, and killing them probably, long-term isn't effective. They did that over on the trail, the Greenway Trail that heads towards, out in Wachusett, in that area. I think it was in Princeton they were doing it. He said they took 13 beavers out of this, like, one small area. He said it was just,
Yeah.
And then they, the trappers stopped, not the beavers stopped necessarily, so.
Yeah, because we, at Legacy Farms, they took out like 30 of them, didn't they?
Yeah, I
A
don't
few years.
remember. I remember
There was a lot of them.
Where?
At Legacy Farms.
Yeah, and they're an issue over there still.
Yeah.
It's another place,
Legacy Farms
Yeah,
North.
but where?
South.
south.
Oh, south, yeah, south. The little, like, there's the pond on, Clinton Street.
Clinton Street, where the turtle crossings are?
Like over in that area,
By the
all back in
cemetery?
there. Yeah.
Turtles
Oh,
are
that
swimming
area
now.
over there.
There was like all these little kind of ponded areas that they used for the nursery back then. All the
Mhm.
beavers were like thriving in that whole area.
Yeah, that whole, and the other side
Behind
as
the,
well.
behind the DPW, by the way, is an
Is the
interesting
beaver
place to go
population
for a walk.
increasing then, or are they just moving
Several
into?
beavers.
Yeah,
more-
people aren't using them for hats anymore. That's the other thing, is get a fashion, get beavers
But
skin
do we
hats
know,
back.
are there more beavers in Hopkinton than there were 5 years ago?
I don't know for sure, but I suspect
It could
there
be a
are.
census.
I mean, I think it's
Well, I mean,
it's more of an issue than it was 5 years ago, that's for sure.
if we're just kicking around thoughts, one thought is, if, I don't know whose job this would be in town, but if we say the right amount of beavers for Hopkinton is 400, if it goes above, eliminate beavers. If someone is actually counting them and saying, we have exceeded what we think is a healthy beaver population.
Does Mass Wildlife provide any sort of lot of guidance?
I was just looking at their kind of brief guidance. It's, tolerate is job number one. The beaver excluders, they also they talk about protecting trees. I mean, obviously the other issue is, somebody who spent thousands of dollars planting all these trees in their backyard, the beavers are now chopping down. So but that's not really our concern with, the wildlands. But yeah, it's really tolerate, excluders, or capture and, kill.
Yeah, I think typically when we've gotten involved is like when it's been affecting a water supply, you know, and like the Huckleberry, that was one where they came in, it was like, you know, the ponded water is getting closer and closer to the private wells, you know, there's a potential for cross-contamination.
I think Kim mentioned Blitz Pond is a problem now too. It's getting, starting to, Blitz Pond up for South Mill.
Oh, yeah.
The neighbors are saying it's getting close to the.
Yeah, they have
homes
one of the Beaver excluders up in that area too. Yeah, I guess we have to figure out from a town standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea to see what, maybe, you know, we can find someone, see what a reasonable population is in an area
Then we
that's...
spray paint their tails.
All these beavers moving into town, how can they afford the houses?
Maybe that's it. We put signs up and say, Ashland is better for beavers. It's a marketing campaign. Go downriver, young beaver.
Yes. You're too young to live here. You know? You can't afford it.
Right, the schools are not good for beavers. Oh, okay, so you guys are basically being as helpful as I am. All right, so...
I mean, would they have to build a special classroom for the beavers at Marathon School? This guy, I'm rolling with it. All right, I'll stop.
I thought your Mormon one was, you know...
Oh my God, I've had COVID. I've been in quarantine for a week, but I had it for 2 weeks prior to that, so.
It's reacclimating to society.
Reacclimating to society.
Right. So did you come to this meeting on your own volition, or did your wife actually kick you out and get him out of the house?
I've been like home by myself. She's been out doing stuff, so.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens when we don't have a full agenda.
Exactly.
All right, so I don't know if that was helpful, but, you know,
yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of all gonna, it's an issue, we're all gonna have to deal with it, and I think we deal with it on sort of a case-by-case basis. Nobody raised any, like, no, I don't want to see excluders used ever, so that seems like the most viable option. I mean, we talked among ourselves at our committee about, you know, really tolerating to the extent we can. So if we can put a boardwalk in over Berry Acres versus trying to do something to get the beavers out of there, the boardwalk is probably the way to go.
Right. And we don't want them going through, like, you know, the conservation areas and like gnawing down all the trees either, right? I mean, that's...
Hardware cloth, like hardware cloth.
Oh, but yeah.
I know someone who's done that.
I mean, the excluders work, but they're not, like, they don't prevent them, you know, they just minimize the activity.
I know, I mean, it'd be great if, you know, you had an area with a lot of aspens, they like those. They need to come up into the area behind Center School, there's a whole bunch in there.
But yeah, whatever input we can provide, you know, we're happy to help out, so.
Okay, but no grand solutions, but also no grand, you know, no, absolutely don't do that. I mean,
yeah,
you know, I think our feeling is killing is probably not something we really want to be doing at a bunch of different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kill wildlife if we don't have to.
Although Joy of Cooking has recipes, so just so you know.
For beavers?
Yeah, and beaver tail. Apparently beaver tail is a delicacy, so I haven't tried it myself.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
thank you.
Peter. Yep.
Good night, Peter.
Good night.
All right, anything else? That's it.
I'll leave you on
Motion
that.
to adjourn,
Here's a beaver bomber sandwich.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Is that really?
It's a recipe for something called a beaver bomber sandwich.
Wow.
So